So we're going to move on now to Lucía Mazarrasa, who's from Spain. She's an abolitionist and founder member of Fórum De Política Feminista. She's a retired nurse, public health educator, and former delegate to the 1995 Beijing UN Women's Conference. And Lucía is going to give us a report about her organization and the work she's involved in, and tell us about women's sex-based rights and issues in Spain.
Well, I will tell you about our organization. This organization was created in 1987 and has been working for more than 33 years already. It deals with various themes: the relationship of women and political, economic, and social power, and the negotiations equality. Also, we work with political measures to favor the employment and promotion of women, change to facilitate the conciliation of personal and working life, the debate on the welfare state or labor reform, along with the demand for equality and equal participation at all levels of decision-making. Also, the fight against gender violence, abortion, the abolition of the prostitution are some of the items on which we work. All our members are volunteers. We are about 500 members around the country, and we have organization in several cities of the country. We work and organize workshops that we later disseminate among other associations through events and the publication of books. And I would like to highlight the workshop we did in the city of León on gender in 2019. We work about the feminist proposal for the abolition of the patriarchal gender system. And the subjects we talk about in this workshop was ethical, legal, health, and economic repercussions, feminist proposal for the abolition of the patriarchal gender system, post-gender feminism and sexual transidentity, and the political subject of feminism. And also, we discuss about the right-hand parties on the right hand attacks against gender ideology. The offensive is going in the Cairo 25 and Beijing 25, which is very, very worrying for us. Well, we present these workshops all over the country. With the pandemic is not possible this year. But the books are in our web. Of course, they are in Spanish, but you can look at our web and you can find all our publications there. And I would like to talk a little bit about what is going on now in Spain with the proposition of law. The government is going to put in the Congress of Deputies. No, we have two laws. One is already proposed. It's a proposed draft organic law for integral guarantee of sexual freedom. It was this proposed draft approved already by the Council of Ministers in last March. There is another law which is not yet knowing what is going on. Is going to be called Law for the Full and Effective Equality of Trans People. I will talk later a little bit, if I have time, about the persecution of feminist radicals in the country and our participation in platforms defending women's human rights, if I have time. But I would start with the law, the organic law for integral guarantee of sexual freedom. We have criticized this law from the Forum and other associations and women's, and we have criticized because the ambiguity and the contradiction this law has. In a way, is focused in guaranteeing the individual right to sexual freedom. But in another hand, the law focuses on sexual violence, adopting a gender approach. It highlights the violence suffered by women because of it. But in another hand, it's talking about guarantee of sexual freedom. There are contradictions because on one hand it refers to all persons, but in this position of reason, it refers to women, so that the object and purpose of the law should limit its object to the right to sexual freedom of women. Incoherence, no? In another way, there are contradictions because it speaks on the concept of gender identity or expression in some parts of the law, and in other parts it speaks about sexual orientation or identity. So the concepts that manage in the law are confusing all the time. No, they are mixed and confusing. The law tries to normalize the confusion, no, between the concepts. Gender identity or expression, sexual identity is intended to cover the group of trans people, but without selling clearly. People with female gender identities are included in the subjective scope of application. We are against this, no? Another thing we miss in this law is trafficking and prostitution is not considered at all in the law. Prostitution is sexual violence. So if we are talking about a sexual freedom, we should talk about prostitution and trafficking in this law. The law does not provide for this sexual violence, nor does pornography or pimping. So there is incoherence. We think it should include the prevention of prostitution. We don't agree that penalties will be lowered in all crimes about that, no? The current penalties are proportional already, and we have had a hard time having these offenses considered as serious crimes. And I think we think also it is imperative that the preventive and awareness raising action established by this law in the educational and institutional field explicitly includes awareness raising and prevention of the consumption of prostitution and pornography, especially in the articles aimed at digital communication and advertising. Is lacking of all these things. This is the principles criticism that we have done to the law. But still, as I tell you, this law it has to pass through the Congress of Deputies. It has to be discussed. And the other law gave us a lot of problem. Is the government wants to put on is the law for the full and effective equality of trans people. No, the Ministry of Equality has opened a procedure to collect opinions about the future law, but we don't know yet the official proposition. The feminist, our organization, addressed our opinion to the ministry based in the proposition of the law that Podemos, the political party Podemos, presented in 2018, but was dropped down at the moment because a period of acting government. But right now they wanted to alight this law. For us, it is in undisputed reality that the fact of being born with female sex has hurt us in all cultures and moments. She has marked us to give us a position in societies of a structural inequality. This for sure. For us, gender is a grammatical meaning and a method of analysis and evaluation of the different social situation of women and men. This is what we think is gender. But the Podemos party, which is in the coalition government nowadays, is very fond of queer theory or doctrine. The object of this law is intended for any person who wishes to exercise the right to free determination. Well, in Spain, according to the medical community, there are 10,000 people who are in this situation and who could be included in the scope of this law. And as we are 47 million people, it accounts for 0.02% of the population. Of course, in Spain there is already a law that allows there is a law that says the following: any person, this law is from 2007, and says any person of a Spanish nationality who is of a legal age and with sufficient capacity to do so may request the rectification of the registration mention of sex. But there are some requirements. The requirements are: the gender dysphoria has been diagnosed, that he has been medically fit for at least 2 years to accommodate his physical characteristics to those corresponding to the sex claim, and the need of the age of majority to carry out this process, 18 years in our country. But the Constitutional Court in 2019 amends this law and saying that to request the correction of the record mention of sex, provide that they are sufficiently mature for the minors, that provide they are sufficiently mature and in a stable situation of transsexuality. In Spain we have regional governments, 17 regional governments, and in the regional governments, there are 11 regional governments that have transgender law already. All this legislation enacted mostly between 2014 and today. He highlights the protection of the right to gender self-determination. So our situation is quite difficult. The law, the intention of the law is intended to configure the right to the free determination of sexual identity and gender expression based on the autonomy and freedom of each person to be and manifest their sex sense feelings without any interference or intrusion. We don't agree at all about this. We don't agree. We think it's not possible to make laws about feelings, about sense. In the law, they pretend that the desire and feeling of record or medical changes would not require the presentation of any evidence, would not be questioned, and at all times it will be considered and interpreted according to the manifestation of personal will. So the personal will is the only thing it's valid. It will also have consequences for those who deny, prevent, or do not respect the will of minors, in clear conflict with the right to parental authority. As you know, it would be undesirable consequences in very areas, in sport, in detention centers, in reserve quotas for women in electoral lists or jobs. We understand that terms such as gender identity or which gender does not refer to this patriarchal construction to perpetuate inequality, but to a form of identity building, and similar ones could contribute to those difficulties to the implementation of equality legislation. And also the law does references to women. We don't think reference to women should be replaced by concepts such as people with pregnant capacity or the like. Using the specific reference to women and sex disaggregated statistics is what has allowed to establish standards on parity, protection against gender-based violence, positive action, and equality planning. So the conclusion is maybe that we, the Fórum De Política Feminista, we want to work in this law, over these laws, and to complain about what they pretend, but also we still want to work in policies and measures to combat male violence in all areas, combating inequalities in employment, the wage gap, and inequality in working conditions, pensions, the feminization of poverty, and overall the economic rights of women. We think maybe this debate is overshadowing other issues for women, very important. Now, because maybe the time is gone, we have some, I will tell you about the persecution for hate crimes that they are suffering radical feminists in the networks, and not only the networks. For example, there is recently the president of the Feminist Party has been accused by a Catalan trans organization and by the Catalan Consejería of Equality. I think the Consejería is the ministry, the Catalan Ministry of Equality, of a hate crime in relation to an article published in a newspaper, where she defended that a woman is the female and the human being. She has been summoned by the persecutor's office for a hate crime and is in the process of being admitted or not. But the reality is that all the things are going very, very badly. Not only feminists and writers are also being persecuted and threatened on social networks, as well as boycotted in some online newspapers that regularly publish feminist women's opinion. So we are in this storm right now. And to end, I will tell you about our participation in platforms defending women's human rights based in sex, like the platform Feral Shadow, Istanbul and Beijing. We have a platform together with all these questions. We are also in the platform for the abolition of the prostitution. And in the last months, we are in a confluencia for the abolition of gender, which is very active right now in Spain. I think there is a division in the feminist movement. First of all, because of the abolition of the prostitution, and right now because the gender ideology, not the gender ideology, the queer ideology is working very hard at the universities also, in some departments of some universities, and they have a lot of and also some prestigious newspapers are supporting this, which is very, very dangerous.